Hello, I haven't done a Facebook Live for a long time. Well, obviously, because I haven't been on Facebook for a year because of, getting suspended, having been hacked. I have no idea if the broadband will make this work. It might not, in which case I'll stop it and just record it as a video on the phone and then just post that video. So I'll keep with this for as long as I can. The reason for doing this today is that my mum died 44 years ago today, and I'm still not used to that. You know, after all this time, over the last 24 hours, maybe 2 or 3 days, I've had, I guess, unprocessed grief kind of floating up to the surface, really. I began to write something out that I want to kind of share with people who are really close, but at the same time, I want to do this. Now, I've had as you know, a carpal tunnel thing for a couple of years, which has precluded me from being able to play at all. And 3 weeks ago, I had a chest infection that is still there. And I found that there was an open mic at Avebury last week. There hasn't been one for a while. I couldn't go because I couldn't manage to sing a whole song. I taught myself to play guitar between 15 and 17 by going to watch punk bands for 50p and wiggling my way to the front and standing in front of guitarists, getting bashed around in a mosh pit and taking mental photographs of the guitarist's hands. And then when I get home, I think, oh, there's a triangle shape. Ooh. Or there's a crooked L shape. Aha. And I built up this ability to play. I taught myself to play. I got this kind of Sex Pistols songbook thing, and it had basic chords, and I just spent most of my time in my bedroom going, things like that. And I was in a punk band with some friends from school, and we were really bad. I don't mean we were bad as in cool. I mean we were bad as in, to quote Andy, the bass player, we were fucking awful. That's a quote. We parted company in 1980, and I saw an advert for a band looking for a guitarist in music that was a bit experimental, and I thought, oh, they were based in West London, which isn't too far from where I lived, and I didn't have any transport, the first band I ever saw was a band called Ultravox with John Fox singing, and so I loved Bowie since I was 11, 10, and so the whole kind of Berlin trilogy was in my brain. I was kind of intrigued by the beginnings of Gary Newman, Ultravox, obviously, because that was the first live ticketed band I'd ever seen. And so when I saw this thing, I phoned up and I spoke to this man called Dave, who would become a friend that we're still friends now. In fact, we're going to see Gary Newman in November in London. And I asked him what kind of music they played, and they said, well, we're a bit like Roxy. And I thought, And then he said, an early Ultravox. Hold on. That's where I came in. So I quickly kind of dusted off the albums and taught myself to play a lot of their stuff. Went along to this audition. My dad dropped me off in Ivor Heath, in the house of a jazz singer called Valerie Masters. Her husband had had a stroke, and so they kind of emptied out the indoor swimming pool, and bands would use that as a rehearsal space. And I did this audition, and I borrowed from the shop a delay pedal and a flanger to kind of test them and see what they were like. And you could turn these knobs and make weird, strange space noises and stuff. So I was just playing everything I could in this audition, They had something that had like a reggae type rhythm to it, so I just whacked up the delays on this echo pedal and things. And they thought, this guy's in, and I got in. And I played in bands in in West London for about 4 or 5 years. But there's a quote from David Bowie, which is, I don't know if I was in a different band every week or we changed our name a lot, which is what it's like in local bands. So drummers would come and go, and they got rid of Dave, the keyboard player, and replaced him. I didn't like that. So then I quit and went off with Dave, the keyboard player, and then we got Andy, the bass player from my original punk band, and he had a drummer that he'd met. And we started doing these kind of spending basically Saturday afternoons locked up in a soundproof room filled full of cigarette smoke and playing noise, which is just the best fun, really. But none of us felt confident enough to sing. We couldn't write, I couldn't write a word. I had to go at some thrashy punk songs, but they were really, nothing sophisticated or eloquent at all. And then I even went in the spring of that year all the way to West London, to Islington, to meet a songwriter, to pay her for being able to use some of her lyrics. And then we just looked at these words and we didn't have a clue how to turn them into a song, so we never used them anyway. And then in September, my mum died. And within about 2 to 3 weeks, this song flowed out of me. And I borrowed a friend's kind of home organ thing, and I put it through a fuzz pedal and a flanger, and it made a bit of a synth sound. And I borrowed Andy's bass, and using 2 cassette tape recorders, I recorded like a drum track on the acoustic, and then did a bass along with it, then played that back and recorded a keyboard line with it, then played that back and recorded me playing guitar along with it, and had this sort of demo, really. And I took it to the next thing the next Saturday, and they were really, wow, this is something. By the end of that year, we still didn't have a singer, but we went into a 4-track studio and we just recorded the backing track. I've still got a tape of that somewhere. But in 2017, I thought I had a foot operation on my right foot, and I couldn't move, really. I couldn't put it was non-weight bearing, that's the phrase, non-weight bearing, and it was painful. So I sat at my computer with my foot up, and I recorded this song, Stangeways, in the way that it was done in the band originally. And then I sent it to Dave, the keyboard player, and I said, what do you think of this? And he just wrote back saying, what can I say? The whole thing, I copied it exactly how it sounded in the band, with a little bit of the improvement on the keyboard sound, because he had a thing called a Korg Delta at the time, which sometimes you'd see on top of the pops in the Human League, but it wasn't as the strings weren't as wonderful as modern string sounds, modern synths. So I kind of updated that bit, but the actual notes were the same. And then about 2018, I think it was on Mother's Day, I felt a bit sad. So I did a Facebook Live, but I kind of did an acoustic version of Stangeways. And someone said they liked it. So I thought, all right. So I started to sing it at open mics, and I've done it quite a few times live. And people have said, it's a good song, they like it. There's a line in it, which is, the future brings a memory that is not me. Because I felt like my life was on a certain trajectory. I didn't know I was autistic, but my mum used to tell me that your life is going to be like this, and there's going to be a trust fund for you, and things like that. She was a deeply caring, sunning cancer lady, but then this illness completely knocked her onto a different path. The whole family onto a different path. My life onto a completely different path. So all these kind of expectations that I was set up for, not one of them came to pass. And one of the things that I miss is the landmarks of life. I've got some friends, we're of an age, aren't we, where our parents get older, and they're in caring spaces for parents who are in a process of decline. And there's an inevitability. But I had that, way back a long time ago, 44 years I spent from when I was 10 to when I was 19, just wondering if Mum will die today, which isn't a very good sound basis for security or stability. But every now and again, I have these kind of waves of feeling that, you know, I had a conversation once with someone who said their parents had died young, and they said, I don't know what's better, not having to face that coming up, but on the same token, missing the memories. You know, I never got to have a meal with my mum, go out for dinner. I never got to bring a girl home and introduce her to my mum. I never danced with my mum. She was never at a wedding. I never went on holiday abroad with my mum, or anywhere, really, apart from when I was a child once in 1968 or 9. So there's so much of life that I just haven't had. And as a child, obviously, I missed the hugs, comfort, and being cared for and looked after. Instead, I became the carer. So around that time in September, just before my mum died, I had my first kind of little taste of romance. Only lasted a couple of weeks, but you know, it was a little thing. And she dumped me, and then 10 days later, my mum died. And it was like everything emotional was stripped out of my world. My twin brother had died long before, when we were 4 days old. So the first verse of this is about the demise of the romance that didn't really last. Then the second verse is about my mum. And the third verse is about my brother and my mum combined. So I have no idea if I'm able to actually physically play this or not. And I also have no idea if I can sing it, because I'm still recovering from this chest infection. But yeah, got to give it a go, you know. So in dedication of well, all three of them in a way, but especially my mum and brother. This is called Stangeways. So now we're strangers again. Now the memory's dim. Would you deny it all? Your eyes betray your smile. Then just for a while I saw you inside. Will the eye of love ever find me? Love comes, love goes, love flows in a strange way. Love comes, love goes, love flows in a strange way. Love comes, love goes, love flows in a strange way. Love comes, love goes, love flows in a strange way. The future brings a memory that is not me in a strange way. So now, time to dream again, drift into another plane. Will your heart find it all? A mind's thank you for having a listen to that.